So, me and my buddies were hanging out one summer night. You know, the kind of night where you just want to do something crazy. We're sitting around bored out of our minds, and someone, I think it was Jerry, suggests we should check out the old Hollow House. Now, Hollow House, that's been around forever. It's this creepy old abandoned place on the outskirts of town. People say it's haunted, and stories have been floating around about it for years. We always thought it was just folks trying to scare each other, typical small-town legends. The legends about Hollow House were something else. Everyone in town had their own version, but the core of it was pretty much the same. The most popular legend was about a family who lived there way back in the day. They were said to be strange, reclusive folks who kept to themselves and rarely ventured into town. The townsfolk didn't know much about them, which of course fueled the rumors. The story goes that the family practiced some kind of dark magic or witchcraft. They were rumored to have made a pact with something sinister that dwelled in the house. It was said that they could summon spirits, and that the house itself was a portal to the other side. As with any good legend, there were tales of strange happenings around the house. Lights flickering on and off, eerie voices in the dead of night, and even sightings of shadowy figures in the windows. People who got too close swore they heard whispers, like the house was trying to lure them inside. Over time, the place fell into disrepair, and the legends grew even wilder. Some claimed that the family had disappeared overnight, leaving behind all their possessions. Others said they'd made some sort of ultimate sacrifice to the dark forces they'd conjured. No one really knew the truth, but everyone agreed on one thing. Hollow House was not a place you wanted to visit after dark. It had a reputation for being cursed, and anyone brave or foolish enough to enter was said to be tempting fate. So when me and my buddies decided to check it out that fateful night, we had all these stories in the back of our heads. We thought we'd debunk the legends, show there was nothing to be afraid of. Anyway, we're all like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. We figure, worst case, we get a good scare and some wild story to tell. So we gear up with our flashlights and we head out in the dark. We get to Hollow House, and let me tell you, this place is something else. It's all overgrown with vines, and the windows are busted out. We have to squeeze through a broken fence to get in. Inside, it's pitch black, and the air feels heavy. I ain't gonna lie, I was already creeped out. As soon as we stepped over the threshold of Hollow House, a shiver ran down my spine. It felt like we were crossing some invisible barrier into the unknown. The air inside was stale and musty, and the darkness seemed to swallow us whole. My heart was pounding in my chest, and I could feel the unease radiating from my friends as well. We were all putting on brave faces, but there was an unspoken tension in the air. The stories and legends we'd grown up with were suddenly very real. The creaking of the old wooden floorboards under our feet didn't help. It sounded like the house was groaning in protest, like it didn't want us there. Every little noise seemed to echo, making me jump at the slightest sound. I tried to keep my voice steady as I cracked a joke, something about how the place probably just needed a good dusting. But deep down, I was starting to doubt our decision. What if those legends weren't just tales told to scare kids? What if there really was something malevolent lurking in the shadows? As we ventured deeper into the house, that feeling of dread only intensified. It was like the walls themselves were closing in on us, suffocating us with their secrets. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, that unseen eyes were following our every move. So, to sum it up, I felt a mix of fear, curiosity, and an overwhelming sense of unease. We had stepped into the heart of the legend, and I had a sinking feeling that we were about to uncover something we couldn't explain. We start poking around, and it's like something out of a horror movie. The floorboards creak, and there are these weird shadows everywhere. It's so quiet you could hear a pin drop, except for our nervous whispers. Then we come across this room that's different. It's freezing cold, even though it's a hot summer night. And there's this mirror, a huge one, just hanging there on the wall. Nobody can resist looking at themselves, right? So we shine our flashlights at it, and that's when things get crazy. In that mirror we see stuff that shouldn't be there. Shadows moving, faces that ain't ours. It's like we're seeing another world through that glass. We try to look away, but we can't. It's like the mirror's got a hold on us. Suddenly, the room gets even colder, and we hear these whispers, like the 100 voices all at once. They're saying things I can't even understand, just gibberish. And that's when the mirror starts to crack right down the middle. We bolt out of there running like there's no tomorrow. We make it outside and we're all breathing heavy. We look back at Hollow House, and I swear we see faces in every window. We hightail it out of there, not looking back. After we finally made it out of Hollow House and back to the safety of my home, a wave of relief washed over me like a cool breeze on a scorching day. The contrast between the eerie darkness of that place and the familiar warmth of my own surroundings was like night and day. I couldn't help but let out a nervous laugh, a release of the tension that had been building up inside me throughout our ill-fated adventure. My friends joined in, and we all seemed to share that unspoken understanding that what we had just experienced was beyond explanation. As I lay in my own bed that night, wrapped in the comforting embrace of my blankets, I couldn't help but replay the events of the evening in my mind. It was like a surreal nightmare, and part of me still couldn't believe it had actually happened. But there was something else too, something that gnawed at the edges of my consciousness. Despite the fear and the uncertainty, there was a strange sense of exhilaration, as if we had glimpsed a hidden world that most people could only dream of. It was the kind of experience that would bond us together forever, a shared secret that we could never fully share with anyone else. So in the end, I felt a complex mix of emotions: relief, fear, wonder, and a strange sense of camaraderie with my friends. We had survived the nightmare at Hollow House, and it was a story as far as I know, Hollow House still stands, looming in the distance as a sinister, decaying relic of the past. It's one of those places that seems to defy the passage of time, a dark and eerie presence on the landscape. However, I can't say for certain whether it's still there today, as I never had the courage to return to that part of town. The legends and the memories of that night were enough to ensure that I'd never willingly set foot near that place again. For all I know, it might have been demolished or fallen further into disrepair. But one thing's for sure: its sinister reputation and the stories that surround it will linger in the minds of those who dared to enter its accursed walls. Now, I can't explain what happened that night. Maybe it was our imagination, or maybe there's something real strange about that place. All I know is, I ain't going near Hollow House ever again. And if anyone suggests a late-night dare, I'm saying no. Sometimes it's best to leave well enough alone.